right, welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're tackling something you might not expect.
Oh,
The strategy behind Scottie Scheffler's incredible success in professional golf.
okay.
We're going to go beyond the swing mechanics and fancy equipment to uncover a surprisingly simple mental game that you can actually apply to your own life.
I like it.
So,
Yeah, it's fascinating how Scheffler has really mastered this, what we call the green zone strategy.
yeah,
He prioritizes consistency, minimizing the impact of his worst shots, which has obviously led to some remarkable achievements.
you're right. It's amazing how he's managed to rise to the top with such a seemingly straightforward approach.
Yeah.
So how does this green zone strategy actually work in practice?
So instead of always aiming for the pin, right, like many golfers do,
Right.
Scheffler focuses on avoiding the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Missing short
Hmm.
sounds counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but by playing it safe in certain areas, he actually frees himself up to be more aggressive elsewhere.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example of how this plays out on the course.
Absolutely. Let's say the pin is positioned at the front of the green.
Okay.
Most golfers would aim right for it.
Yep.
But that often leads to a shot that falls short, leaving a tricky uphill putt.
Ouch. I've been there. Not fun.
Exactly. Scheffler, on the other hand, will actually aim long in this situation.
Really?
Statistically, when the pin is at the front, Scheffler hits it long over 80% of the time, while the tour average is around 55%.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It is.
So he's basically tilting the odds in his favor by choosing where to miss.
Precisely. And what's interesting is that despite this seemingly conservative approach, the data shows that Scheffler isn't sacrificing accuracy.
Okay.
He's still ranked among the top players when it comes to hitting the green and avoiding three putts.
So it's not just about hitting amazing shots. It's about choosing your battles wisely.
You got it. And this leads us to another interesting aspect of Scheffler's game, his safe zone.
His safe zone. What do you mean by that?
So Scheffler has identified a specific area on the green that he aims for, regardless of where the pin is located.
Okay.
Let's say the pin is in the front middle, or even front right section of the green. He consistently aims for that same safe zone just past the pin,
Okay.
even if that means his ball lands further away from the hole.
Wait, so he's sometimes intentionally hitting it further away from the hole?
He is.
Doesn't that make it harder to score?
You would think so, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah.
But this is where Scheffler's trust in his putting and short game comes in.
Okay.
By avoiding those short-sighted misses that leave you with a tough chip shot or a tricky lie,
Right.
he's setting himself up for more manageable putts, even if they're from a slightly longer distance.
Interesting. So he's using his putting strength to compensate for a potential weakness in his approach shots.
Yeah,
I'm starting to see the genius here.
exactly. He's flipped the script on conventional golf wisdom, turning what most players would consider a disadvantage into a strategic advantage.
So he's basically minimizing risk and maximizing his chances of making par or even birdie with this approach.
Precisely. And this strategic mindset is something we can all learn from.
Absolutely. We often get caught up in trying to hit the perfect shot or achieve immediate results.
Right.
And we end up taking unnecessary risks that hold us back in the long run. Scheffler's discipline is a powerful reminder that consistency and playing the percentages can lead to remarkable outcomes.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And what's particularly fascinating is that this idea of playing for the, as we call it in golf, the fat part of the green,
Okay.
isn't a new concept. It's deeply rooted in golf history, particularly in the teachings of legendary golfer Ben Hogan.
Ah, Ben Hogan. I heard his name, but I'm not familiar with his approach. Can you tell us more about how his philosophy connects to Scheffler's game?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ben Hogan was a master of course management. He emphasized playing for the largest part of the green, where you have the most room for error, just like Scheffler. He believed that avoiding the short side, even if it meant being further from the hole, was crucial for consistent scoring.
So Scheffler is drawing inspiration from one of the greats. It's incredible to see how these timeless principles are still relevant in today's game.
Absolutely. Both Hogan and Scheffler demonstrate incredible discipline and a deep understanding of how to use strategy to their advantage.
Yeah.
It's not just about raw talent. It's about making intelligent decisions that minimize risk and open up opportunities.
Now, we've talked about how Scheffler approaches front pins and those in the middle and front right sections of the green.
Right?
What about when the pin is tucked away on the left side?
Yeah.
Does he still aim for that same safe zone?
That's where things get even more nuanced.
Okay.
So for longer approach shots, When the pin is on the left, Scheffler still prioritizes safety.
Okay.
His stats for hitting the green are only slightly lower for those pin positions, showing his consistency even in challenging situations.
So he's not letting those tricky pin placements throw him off his game. He's sticking to his strategy.
Exactly. But here's the fascinating part.
Okay.
As he gets closer to the green, into that area where you have a good chance of scoring,
Right.
Scheffler starts to make slight adjustments.
Okay.
He doesn't go all out aggressive and aim directly for the pin,
Okay.
but he does begin to favor the left side of the green a bit more.
So he's taking calculated risks when the potential reward is higher.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's got this internal algorithm for assessing risk and reward on every shot.
That's a great way to put it. And that's what separates the great players from the good ones. They have this innate ability to adapt their strategy to the situation.
Yeah.
For Scheffler, it's all about minimizing the chances of that dreaded short-sighted miss, even when he's being more aggressive.
This whole approach is really making me rethink my own game.
Yeah.
I'm definitely guilty of going for those hero shots way too often.
And that's the beauty of this concept.
Yeah.
This green zone strategy isn't just for professional golfers. It's a mindset we can all apply to our lives.
Right.
Whether you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, or just navigating everyday decisions. Understanding the power of playing the percentages and avoiding unnecessary risks can make a world of difference.
I love how this deep dive is taking us from the golf course to real-life applications.
Yeah.
So let me see if I've got this straight. We should be asking ourselves, where are my red zones?
Exactly.
Those areas where I'm consistently making mistakes or taking unnecessary risks.
Right.
And how can I adjust my strategy to avoid those pitfalls and set myself up for better results?
You got it.
Yeah.
It's about being honest with ourselves,
Yeah.
identifying our weaknesses, and finding ways to mitigate those risks.
Right.
It might not be as glamorous as going for the risky big win every time, but in the long run, it's the path to consistent and lasting success.
This is all incredibly insightful, but I have to admit, I'm still a bit blown away by the fact that Scheffler is so good at putting. Even though he's often hitting his approach shots further away from the hole than other players,
Right.
it seems counterintuitive.
Ah, yes. And that's another testament to his unique approach.
Yeah.
Remember that quote we read from his caddy? Scheffler is completely comfortable hitting a 50-foot putt if it means avoiding a risky approach shot.
That's amazing. It's almost like he's flipped the script on conventional golf wisdom.
He has.
He's turned what most players consider a weakness,
Yeah.
longer putts,
Right.
into a strength by using it to his strategic advantage.
Exactly. And the stats back it up. He's consistently ranked among the best putters on tour and avoids 3 putts remarkably well, even though he often faces those longer putts more often than his competitors.
So he's not just a great putter, he's a great putter because of his strategic approach to the game. It's
Yeah.
all connected.
Precisely. His strategy dictates his shot selection, which in turn influences his putting. It's a holistic approach that has elevated his game to a whole new level.
Okay, I think we're really starting to get a sense of how this green zone strategy works in practice.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what does Scheffler himself have to say about his approach? Does he talk about it openly?
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
He doesn't explicitly use those terms.
Right.
But if you listen carefully to his interviews, you can hear those underlying principles woven throughout his comments.
Like what? Can you give us an example?
Well, he often emphasizes the importance of discipline,
Yeah.
trusting his short game, and not getting too greedy on the course.
Right.
He understands that every shot doesn't have to be a highlight reel moment. Sometimes the smartest play is the simplest one.
It's like he's internalized this philosophy to the point where it's just second nature.
Right.
He's not overthinking it. He's just executing his game plan with remarkable consistency.
And that's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
To develop a system that works for you and then trust it completely. Scheffler exemplifies that beautifully.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. So far, I feel like I'm gaining a whole new perspective on golf, strategy, and even success itself.
And the most exciting part is that these insights can be applied to any aspect of life.
Right.
Scheffler's approach is a reminder that we can achieve remarkable results by focusing on consistency, making smart choices, and playing the percentages.
Yeah.
It's about identifying our red zones, those areas where we tend to make mistakes or take unnecessary risks,
Right.
and developing strategies to navigate them effectively.
Absolutely. This deep dive has given me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I'm already starting to see how I can apply these principles to my own life.
Okay.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious to hear your final thoughts on this green zone strategy.
Okay.
What's the one key takeaway you'd like our listeners to remember?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that we don't always have to be the most talented or the flashiest to succeed.
Right.
Sometimes it's more about making smart choices consistently and avoiding those big mistakes that can really set us back.
It's such a powerful concept, and as you said, it's relevant far beyond the golf course.
Yeah.
It makes you think about those areas in your own life, whether it's your career, relationships, or even your finances,
Right.
where you might be unknowingly aiming for those red zones, taking unnecessary risks that could lead to major setbacks.
It's definitely something we can all reflect on.
Yeah.
Where are those short-sighted misses that
Yeah.
we should be avoiding at all costs? And how can we define our own personal green zones, those areas of safety and consistency that will set us up for success in the long run?
It's a challenge for sure, but it's also incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
Once we identify those potential pitfalls and start making those strategic adjustments,
Yeah.
we're really taking control of our own destiny.
Absolutely. We become more intentional about our choices, and that can make all the difference.
Yeah.
Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent, making smart choices, and avoiding those costly mistakes. Scheffler's green zone strategy is a fantastic example of how that approach can lead to extraordinary results.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on golf strategy and even on how to approach success in any field.
And remember, listeners, this is just the beginning.
Hmm.
The real work starts now as you take these insights and apply them to your own life.
Right.
So ask yourself, where are your red zones?
Yeah.
How can you be more disciplined and embrace that green zone strategy to achieve greater success in whatever game you're playing?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with.
Absolutely.
We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the brilliant strategy of Scottie Scheffler.
It's been fun.
And we encourage you to explore how you can apply these principles to your own life.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.